Everyone take a deep breath and another and another. I'm just going to ask for our divine beings that are ever present with us to just amp up the positive frequency as we spend this time together sharing and exchanging our energy in this space. I personally ask for guidance to share what is relevant to share, to feel in my heart what's most important to share, and to allow everyone to receive exactly what is relevant to them today. And to that I say, so it is. So I'm gonna tell you what the agenda is, and then I'll go through the agenda. So I'll do a quick backdrop, and then I will share how my viewpoint, my perspective, my perception of contrast and challenges has changed. And then I'll share what my relational challenges taught me. And then I'll share what my physical challenges taught me. I'll probably spend most of the time there because that was where my greatest challenge was last year. I'm perfectly fine now. This is the beauty of the temporal nature of life, right? Perfectly fine now. Doing my hill sprints, my calisthenics, my push-ups, my pull-ups, my deadlifts and dead hangs. I'm doing all my stuff. I'm back to being perfectly fine. But a lot of lessons learned, and I want to share that. But first, I want to share a quick backdrop. Because there's Allison prior to 2025 and there's Allison now. And a lot has changed for me. I've spent in 2025 a lot of time in stillness, extraordinary amount of time in stillness. I spent an extraordinary amount of time in deep contemplation out in nature. And when you spend that much time in stillness, just listening to your heart, listening to your soul, listening to what's the guidance that's within you, you can't help but evolve and change and shift and move, and things happen. And life just sent me so many gifts during the life events of 2025 that I have to start with a bit of a backdrop, because the way in which I'm sharing today is one of the ways in which I shifted. And I'm going to give full credit to Mooji, who is a spiritual teacher. I'm going to close my chat. You guys can put questions and stuff in there if you have questions as I go along, if you have insights, if you want to say something. The chat is open. It'll stay open. I'm not seeing it while I'm talking, but I'll come back to it at the end. So I'm going to give full credit to Mooji, which is one of the spiritual teachers that I follow. And he was having a satsang where, there's Q&A and people that come to his meetings were asking questions. And one of his followers was going through a really significant challenge that they were detailing and asking for his guidance on it. And in providing the guidance, he said something that totally grabbed me and pulled me into a new way of being, which is why I'm sharing in the way that I am. So what he said was, one of the things, he was, responding to everything that was being shared and all of that. But one of the things he shared was just one statement. He said, and yeah, but what was the challenge 3 challenges ago? And a few things changed within me when he said that. One was I realized I couldn't remember what the challenge was 3 challenges ago. I literally couldn't remember. I'm in this challenge now, right? I couldn't even remember, which reinforced for me the temporal nature of anything that we're going through. When we're going through different things, it becomes the highlight of our lives, right? It becomes the thing we focus on. And then when that's done, we move on to another life experience, and that becomes the thing we focus on, right? So when he said that, I realized I can't even remember what my challenge was 3 challenges ago. And then the other thing that struck me was how universal challenges are. We all experience it. We signed up for Earth. Earth comes with challenges. And there are only 3 flavors. There's financial, there's physical, and there's relational. That's pretty much it. Now, if you want to throw in a fourth, a bonus one to give yourself more mental and emotional misery, then what's going on in the world is a great place to add more mental and emotional misery to your life. But there's typically only 3. There's financial, there's physical, and there's relational. And last year in 2025, I had physical and relational. And I'm sure some of you are like, yeah, it's pretty much those 3. Sometimes I get all 3 at the same time. Sometimes I get 3, another fourth or whatever. But there's only 3 flavors. And we signed up for Earth. And the interesting thing about challenges, the one thing that I notice about me, which you may agree with as well, it's kind of like death. It's like we all know death is going to happen. But the minute somebody dies, we go, oh, no, really? Like we never knew that they were going to die. And challenges are the same way. It's like we know we signed up for Earth. We know we signed up for challenges. Like we cannot not have challenges. Like that's just a part of life. But when something happens and it feels like a new flavor of challenge, like you've never experienced it before, it's like, what is this? Right? Like we don't expect it, but it's universal. It's a normal part of life. And so that awareness that there's only 3 flavors of challenges, there's no big deal here. Like we tell ourselves, this is really big, right? Or this is really significant, or this is a really bad diagnosis, like whatever it is, right? I never went to the doctor, by the way, so I don't know what it was. But we tend to always, like, we know we signed up for challenge, but the minute challenge comes, it's like, what is this? Right? And we're like reliving the experience of surprise by the challenge, right? Just like how we're always surprised when somebody dies, even though we know everyone's going to die. And that's just a normal human reaction, right? So that's kind of how we are. And then because of what Mooji said, this also shifted. Because of all of this mulling over in my mind, here's what also shifted. I almost immediately felt a huge diminishing of my desire to share the details of a challenge. Y'all remember when I was talking when I broke a bone? I told, and then this happened, and then I walked into the room and I was walking on, and then and this happened, like all the details of what happened, right? I was Allison prior to 2025. Allison now, I just don't feel that interested in regurgitating the details of everything that happened, even though that would be a really good story. Everybody would be like on the edge of their seats, like, what? Right? And all I want to say is that I had challenges in the flavor of relationships, and I had challenges in the flavor of physical. That's it. I, I don't feel the draw to go, okay, let me set this up and tell y'all everything that happened. I felt when Mooji said that, I felt this huge diminishing of a desire to regurgitate the whole story. Of course, there's also the component of I don't want to reactivate that vibration, but I am so focused on what I want to say what I learned, but it's almost better stated what I remembered while I was moving through the 2 different challenges, right? And again, I'm totally fine now. But did I have some physical challenges? Yes. Did it last months? Yes. Did I have a hard time with it? Yes. But I'm here now, right? And what I felt when Mooji said that was this diminishing of my desire to regurgitate all the details of the challenge, because challenges are universal. We all have, there's 7 billion flavors of what a relational challenge would look like, 7 billion flavors of what a physical challenge would look like, but challenges are universal. It's not that different, right? So I felt that diminishing of a desire to regurgitate the dramatization of everything that happened. And at the same time, I felt this huge blossoming of wanting to share what really impacted me vibrationally, spiritually, what I learned, what I remembered, what gifts I was given in the midst of it, how I shifted as a result of it, what I shifted to and from. And that feels way more interesting to me in how to move forward with this event than Allison pre-2025. It doesn't mean that I'll never tell the stories of what happened, but it doesn't feel relevant today. I may go back into the detail of that story at some point in my life and some point in sharing in future. Today, I felt way more of a pull toward sharing what I moved through, and what helped me and how I shifted and all of that, right? So as I go through the other 3 segments of today's event, you'll see that that's the focus. What did I learn? How did I shift? Why did I shift? And more on that, right? So, and I want to spend more time at the very end with the shifts that I experience with regard to physical challenges for anyone who's experiencing that. I think that would be really insightful as to what came to me in the midst of all of that. So I wanted to share that as a backdrop, because when you're talking about shifts and changes, sometimes people come in with the expectation that you're going to be spilling the tea on everything that happened, what happened in the relationship, what happened in your body, and I just don't feel called to that today. I feel more called to the depth of the shifts and the changes that I experienced. So I wanted to set the stage for that. Anyone that's coming in late, the chat box is open, but I'm not seeing the chat box. I'll open it up when I'm done sharing. The second segment of today's event is how my viewpoint of challenges and contrast changed. Have you ever had an experience where you're in a new place, but only because you're in this new place do you now see where you once was? That's what's happening for me right now. That's what happened in all of this. I'm going to share 6 or 7 things that shifted for me in my perspective on challenges, but I didn't realize the old way of thinking until I had a different way of perceiving, Okay, so the first thing that changed was shifted. I had this really strong, I will call it vibrational prowess. I had this mantra that I never shared with you all, but this mantra was running all the time for me, which was, if I fuck it up, I'm gonna fix it up, because I know how to vibe it out. That was my mantra. If I fuck it up, I'm gonna fix it up, because I know how vibration works. I know how it works. So I will fix it, right? Something's broken vibrationally, I will fix it, right? And I kind of carried that vibrational prowess. Nothing wrong with that. But I am way more humble today, because 2025 said, you're going to learn today, ma'am. Have a seat, right? And I had to, I appreciate our innate power to affect our reality. That has not changed. I still feel that degree of vibrational prowess. I know how vibration works. I know how this reality works. I know how it works. But there is, oh shoot. I just realized I didn't feed Milo. Oh crap. All right, I'm gonna keep going. I might take a little break just to heat up his food. I don't, I still feel that vibrational prowess that comes up. Like, I know how this reality works. I know how to shift my vibe. I know how to put something on repeat and have it, blah, blah, blah. But you know what, y'all? I put stuff on repeat and it didn't work. And there was a point where I was sitting in deep contemplation. I did spend a lot of time in stillness, right? I was sitting in deep contemplation, and what I say about the challenges of 2025 was it was fascinatingly challenging. And the reason that it was because I had such an expanded awareness while I was going through it. I had embraced heart-brain coherence, right? I talked about that early in the year last year, or in August, I think I shared that live stream. So I was meditating 3 times a day, usually 10 minutes, sometimes 5, sometimes 15. But I was meditating 3 times a day when I woke up in the morning, just before I ate my lunch, and just before I went to bed. So I spent a lot of time in stillness. And in one of my times of contemplating, I remember thinking, oh my God, I now know what it feels like to feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working. And I remember being fascinated by that realization. Like, I have tried everything, nothing is working. And I realized in that moment, life was just giving me that gift to amp up my compassion, because I will say that before I experienced the things that I experienced in 2025, I was like, you just gotta vibe it out, man. You just gotta vibe it out. Just put a new story and repeat. You got this. You can vibe it out, right? And I still think putting a new story and repeat is effective. I still think I'll share a little bit more in the last segment when I'm talking about what I learned regarding physical challenges, why that doesn't work sometimes. So I'm aware of all of this working, and I'm aware of all the different tools that are at our disposal, yet none of it was working for me. And I felt, because I was spending so much time in meditation, there was this increased awareness of the perspective of source through it all, the perspective of my higher self through it all, the perspective of my inner being through it all. So now the physical challenges lasted for months and was worsening. And as it was worsening because of me, okay, that was so clear. That was so clear. It took months for me to find my vibrational stability. And because it took months, it really expanded my compassion for people who are in something for years, or in something for months, or just can't seem to find their way out of it. I felt so much more compassion. Other things I felt too was, it was like, this life just isn't fair. Because, and here's what I was going, I see both sides of it, right? There's a part of me going, this just isn't fair, because law of attraction is a bitch. The more I think about this, and the more I give my attention to fear-based thoughts, the more fear-based thoughts come to me, and I feel like I can't find my way out of this shit. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be thinking about this. I know what to do. But law of attraction is keeping me in here because I keep giving my attention to the fear-based thoughts. And there were times when I'm like, this life on earth just isn't fair. Number one, you can never be vibrationally perfect. There's no way. We don't have an option to be vibrationally perfect. Therefore, we do attract challenges and contrast. There's no way out of that. Like, there's no way we can be vibrationally perfect on earth. And so I had those moments of, this whole setup is not fair. It's not fair. I can't get this perfect, right? And then there was this other side that kicked in that was like, actually, I have an unfair advantage given that I'm one with source. And I'd shift into that, and my vibrational prowess would kick in again, right? And so I kept going back and forth between the two. And the one thing that I will say is that when I had the low moments, they were very brief. I cried a lot in 2025, a lot, but it was 99% tears of gratitude because I was doing heart brain coherence meditations 3 times a day. And every time I go into a heartfelt heart brain coherence meditation, I would cry. I had one night where I was crying tears of discouragement, and I shared that in a YouTube short. One night, and that was a 10-minute event. And then I went to sleep, and then I woke up and spirit just infused me with whatever, and I never went back to that low. However, I iterated in thoughts of in fear-based thoughts, right? I would because what happens when something's going awry in your body is that you have thoughts like, is this going to get worse? What if this does get worse? You know what I mean? And the minute you pay attention to that thought, you're making it worse because your cells are obeying what your thought process is. So the minute you are thinking, I hope this doesn't get worse, this seems like it's getting worse. The minute you have those thoughts, your cells go, get worse. It's just, that's what happens, right? And so there was this iterating of paying attention to fear-based thoughts and then not. And then the bounce was swift, right? Because I was spending so much time in heart brain coherence meditation. I've been on this path for 10 years. So the bounce was swift. I didn't spend hours battling with my thoughts, but I did have a couple, I would say during that time, even though I was iterating, there were probably 3 nights that felt really difficult, where I remember one night I literally felt like I was in a boxing match with my thoughts. I felt so like I was literally exhausted trying to control these negative thoughts that was coming up. And I remember one night I'm just feeling, I was literally tossing and turning going, God, I just don't want to think like this. I know better. Like, God, like I was battling with my thoughts, and spirit came in and said, sweetie, this is not a boxing match. You don't have to fight with your thoughts. You just have to not engage. And immediately I knew, just watch the freaking thoughts as they're strolling by. If you don't engage, they can't, right? Your thoughts can't do anything to you if you're not engaged with it. If you're just watching it. And I just started practicing watching the fear-based thoughts, and they would just fizzle out. And those 2 nights that I had, plus the night I cried and went to sleep, but those 2 restless nights that I had where I was just fighting my thoughts, each time spirit would come in, just watch, girl. That's all you gotta do. Watch the mind show. There's a mind shit show going on right now. Just watch, right? So all of those experiences shifted me from this, girl, all you gotta do is vibe it out, to there are times when things feel really hard. And I don't think, we don't remember, I will say, I don't remember all of the challenges I've had in the past. Mooji reminded me of that, right? I don't remember. But I don't think I've ever had an experience where it felt as difficult as this did. Yet at the same time, my moments of it feeling difficult were very brief. Like I would bounce very quickly. There was just a bounce available. And one of the reasons that was every time I felt the difficulty of it, I would ask for help. I would say, y'all see what's going on here? I need some help. And without fail, something will happen to move me out of that. Either a video that popped up on YouTube, or a song would pop into my head, or One of the songs that what was it? Whenever I sat for um meditation, my heart brain coherence meditation, whenever I go sit down, I would go, I'm coming home, right? Because that's what it felt like to me. Heart brain coherence meditation, the thing that I focus on to feel grateful for, um, was always the fact that I'm an infinite being and I have access to who I truly am 24/7. And the minute I closed my eyes and focused on my heart, there was just this sense of awareness of who I truly am, and this whole earthly story sort of dissipates, and I'm just so grateful that I'm more than this story, you know. And so that's where my gratitude went, and so I call that coming home to the truth of who I am, right? And so in some of those in some of those moments I would hear the song Coming Home. I don't know if you're familiar with that song, but spirit would just drop that into my heart and mind. I would hear, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming. And that 30-second song would just land in my mind. And when I heard that, it was like, come back home to who you are, Allison. It's not difficult. It's only difficult when you drift into thoughts, fear-based thoughts. That's the only time it felt difficult. Yes, there were things going on in my body. Yes, it was very present, but I taught myself that I could feel joy in the midst of it because I did. Whenever I had that bounce, I would bounce back into life is fine. This is happening in my body, but life is fine. I have a lot more to share about what I learned that pulled me out that I really want to share toward the end. So that degree of vibrational prowess that I felt sort of was tempered with sometimes things feel really hard. Um, and sometimes the process doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, then what's there, you know? And when the processes weren't working, I had to surrender to who I truly am. I wasn't reaching for a process anymore. I was reaching inward for the awareness of who I am. And that awareness is where I found solace. It wasn't a process. It wasn't a technique. It wasn't a tool. Is remember who you are in the midst of this. Remember who you are. And that awareness became stronger and stronger and stronger. The next thing that changed is I didn't I wasn't I didn't realize that I viewed challenges like they don't belong in my life. And that kind of went along with the vibrational prowess, right? It was like, you don't belong in my life. If I experience any challenge, you don't belong here. I'm gonna vibe your ass out. Like whatever the challenge is, you don't belong here. I'm gonna vibe your ass out. Right? And I'm in a different place today. Yes, as our challenges and contrast um, moves on, as we move through the different challenges, yes, we can use a vibrational um, ability to stabilize our emotions and move through it in a way that brings us into the experience that we truly desire. But I am more welcoming of the reasons why we choose challenge. Abraham Hicks, often begins their seminar with, are you enjoying the contrast? I can't tell you that I'm in a place where if contrast comes, I'll just go into enjoyment. I can't say that I'm there. Okay. What I can say is that I was very aware of what I was experiencing. And even though it was difficult, there was this greater inner awareness, this tuning in, this um, awareness. Um, Sometimes it feels ineffable because there are really no human words to describe the essence of who you are becoming so strong that the human experience is sort of diluted by it, you know? And so I experienced everything, but there was this awareness of who I truly am, this awareness that, best words that I can put to it is this awareness that peace is present 100% of the time, only ever clouded by our choosing of thoughts that are fear based or a barrage of thoughts. That peace is always here. And the only time we're not feeling it is when we're in the mass of thoughts that are flowing. And one of the things that I started to do was tuning into the awareness that peace is always present. And I would take my focus to the peace that's always here. It's like, Allison, peace is always here, tune into it. And I would ask Spirit, show me the peace that you're in, because I know that it's always here. And that returning to the peace that's always present, no matter what's happening in our lifetime, returning to this peace that's always present is what pulled me through mostly, I would say. Well, it's the foundation of what pulled me through. Life, spirit, our non-physical beings gave me lots of gifts in the midst of it, right? Tools and strategies and, you know, different ways of being to help myself. And the reason I got that was because I was constantly asking for help. I was iterating in fear-based thoughts. And every time I iterated in fear-based thoughts, I would ask for help and something else would come in and I'd go, oh, right. And I'd remember, right, the truths that would get me through it, right? But I viewed challenges like they didn't belong in my life. And now I'm like, challenges are how, like, I wouldn't be doing this event if those challenges weren't present. I wouldn't be sharing with you all that I'm sharing with you if those challenges weren't present, you know? So I'm more welcoming of the growth and expansion and the gifts that are going to be a result of what I'm moving through right now. The other thing was when I felt like when I'm in the middle, right? Like I have a desire to feel wholeness, or, you know, some relational thing is playing out and I have a desire for harmony. In the middle of it, this is another thing that shifted. I made a mistake and it's time to correct it. That's what the middle is for. Course correcting. That's it. I'm in the middle and I just need to course correct so I can get to the end. And what shifted for me was that sort of dissipated. And what came in was contrasts and challenges are a natural part of the human experience. Don't take it so seriously. It's just a natural part of the human experience. It's just a natural part. Like we cannot not have challenges. Not that we spend our entire lives battling with challenges. I don't believe that's true either. The Buddhist teachings around suffering is very interesting. It's like everything is suffering. When the monks came in, I found this interest in like, what do they learn? Like, what do they teach? And I'm like, man, y'all are very suffering based. You know, they're always teaching that everything is suffering, which I could see that viewpoint. You stub your toe. It's like they believe that their belief is that you suffer every day. Right? You get up, you spill your coffee, that's suffering. You stub your toe, that's suffering. You lost your keys, that's suffering, right? But that's way too much focus on suffering for me. I'm like, I want to enjoy my life. Like, I want to have a good time. I don't want to be focused on suffering all day long. You know what I mean? Focus there, you'll just get more of that. You know what I mean? But I do embrace that challenges are a natural part of the human experience. So old Allison, if somebody came to me and said, I'm having this particular challenge, I'd be like, let's get to work to vibe that out. Let's vibe that out, right? Now I am more curious about what this is here for and who else is engaged in this challenge with you. There's a couple of you that have family members in hospice right now. And this isn't just happening to them, it's happening for everyone that's connected to that experience. And everyone signed up to be affected by that particular experience and to see what it's here for. Sometimes it's a blossoming of compassion, and as happened for me in my challenges, right? Sometimes there's a blossoming of compassion that happens. Sometimes there is a resilience that takes over that you never would have had before, so it's a natural part of the human experience. I welcome the gifts that are in it more than, okay, let's figure out how to get out of this. Yes, everyone wants to get to the end. Everyone wants to get to the end. When will I be healed and whole? When will I get the money? When will I get the relationship? When will this relationship become harmonious? Everyone wants the end, and I get it. Me too. Me too. But I'm a little bit softer about what we do in the middle. Like what is this here for? Right? Because sometimes we say, what is this here for? And we're like, what is it here for? Let me hurry up and learn so I can get to the end, So now when people come to me and they're in the middle, I'm like, natural part of the human experience. This is here for more than just your ability to get out of it. So what are you like, what are you learning from it? I'm curious, what are you learning from it? What might others connected to you be learning from it? So there's more space for that than the just, okay, let's vibe it out. Let's get you some practices to get you out of here. There's more space for, wow, I wonder. There's more curiosity, natural curiosity within me for, I wonder what this is here for, rather than let's just get out. Let's just figure out how to get out. So that shifted. I also had the perspective that we, in the middle, right? Talk about it, in the middle between this desire and the materialization of it. So I had this thinking that the only reason to be in the middle is to figure out how to get what you want. That's it. Figure out what you get on you want. And another part was, this is here for me. We all say that, right? This is happening for me. True. And what blossomed for me is, no, this is not just happening for me. This is happening for everyone connected to me. And that really blossomed in my awareness. Whatever I'm going through, whoever is touched by that, it was happening for them too. Like, this event would not have been happening. Look, all of you are here listening to this because I went through that. And some of you will probably be positively impacted by something I share today. So it's not just happening for me, it's happening for everyone that's connected to me. So that's another thing that shifted for me. Here's another thing that shifted. I didn't realize this. As I mentioned, a lot of these things that have shifted, I didn't realize I was holding those perceptions until I shifted out of those perceptions. I held the belief somewhere within me that if I am vibrationally aligned, most of the time, I will avert most challenges. And anything that shows up in the form of a challenge, it'll just be a piece of cake, right? I really thought that if I stayed vibrationally aligned, that's how my life would go. And the learning in that for me was, beneath that belief was actually a fear of major things happening, like what we perceive to be major. In the spirit realm, there's nothing major and minor, it's just lifing, you know. But there, I didn't realize that I had this subtle fear beneath that belief that there was a subtle fear of challenges, essentially, that I don't want anything bad to happen. So let me keep my vibe high, you know? But what shifted for me is that there isn't anything that can happen. And it was beautiful to feel that fear dissipate. I felt it. I felt that fear dissipate. And what replaced it was this awareness that my soul knew everything that was probable here in this lifetime. And my soul also knew there wasn't anything that could happen that I can't handle. Even though there are times, that's my triple flame app, by the way. And whenever it does that now, I'm coming home. That does that every hour. And every time it does that, I hear that song. And then I go, I'm more than this physical apparatus, right? But what that subtle fear that a challenge, that I have to keep my vibe high so I don't get any challenges, that kind of dissipated and disintegrated. And there's this I want to use the word confidence, but it's not confidence. It's more I trust that whatever arises in the form of challenge, my soul already knew that that was a probability and already knew that I'm fully equipped to handle it, or would not have said yes to this lifetime. And so that perception, that belief feels way more peaceful to me than I have to be vigilant about my vibe so that nothing bad happens. It just, that vigilance fell away, and just this peaceful, there isn't anything that could happen here that I can't handle. And even in the moments where I feel I can't handle it, which did happen, I still bounce back, you know, that those moments are temporary anyway. Like all of those moments are temporary. So that replaced it. In one of my YouTube shorts, I said, I feel vibrationally high probably 90% of the time. What I didn't say was how that's happening. And I want to share that here, because I used to think that being in a vibrationally high state meant the absence of negative emotions, the absence of negative thoughts, the absence of negative things happening, right? Experiences. I no longer think that because of what I experienced. I talked about feeling, I could feel the sting of the thoughts that were flowing through me. Like my human body felt that, my emotions felt that. But then there was this peace that was just, it was just always there. And so what I taught myself through this, what became more profound through this, what became more felt and experienced through this, was this awareness that peace is always present, even when the mind is doing its thing, even when the human emotions is doing its thing. The awareness, it again, ineffable, because it's becoming harder and harder for me to actually explain what it is I'm feeling in the moment. Like I can literally feel the sting of disappointment or rejection or whatever human emotions are there. And there's this coming home that's just always there. Because it's true, right? It's true that you are predominantly source. It's true that I am predominantly source. It's true that I'm predominantly awareness, spirit. And that aspect of us is never discouraged, is never disheartened, is never any of those things. It's the human experience that has that. And so what I did a lot of was practice focusing on what is already here, what is always here. And so while I'm in the midst of this experience that feels like the sting of disappointment or discouragement or whatever I'm feeling, there I've practiced, and it did take practice, y'all. It took practice. I practiced going, and peace is always here. Like I'm having this moment of discouragement, and peace is always here. I'm having this feeling of rejection, and peace is always here. I'm having this feeling of frustration and maybe some anger regarding a family member, and peace is always here. And so when there's that and peace is always here, then I can divert my attention to the peace that's always here. And when I divert my attention to the peace that is always here, like I truly believe peace is 100% present in my life all the time. And so I trained myself, practice, y'all, it took practice. And I used the fiery moments to practice. Okay, I'm having a fiery moment, and I know peace is always here. I'm having a fiery moment, and I know emotional stability is always here. Vibrational stability is always here. It was an and. So I can do this and be aware of peace being here. So this human activity, emotions, thoughts, it doesn't have to pull me in if I divert my attention to the peace that is always here. And so do I get pulled in sometimes? Yep. I still do get pulled in sometimes. But most of the time it's here doing its thing. Like life is lifing, thoughts are, the emotions are up and down. And there is this awareness that I keep coming back to. It's toward the end of the year, last year, I attended this spiritual retreat, and it was all about enlightenment. But the joke of the whole thing was that we're already enlightened. Right? They accepted that, right? But the one gift that I got from this, that I got from that, is just the statement, "Am I aware?" And so, happening, thoughts, emotions. Am I aware? Yeah, I'm aware. If I'm aware, then I'm also aware of the peace that's already here. And this noise seems to like just, when I shift my focus to the piece that is already here, and I ask myself, am I aware? When I ask myself, am I aware? It's, am I aware that I'm a story playing out right now? Am I aware? And sometimes it's not any of that. It's just, am I aware? Like right now, am I aware that I'm sitting in this chair, staring into a camera? People are staring back at me. I'm aware. Are you aware that you're sitting in the seat where you are right now? Are you aware of the room that you're in right now? Are you aware of the seat that you're sitting in? Am I aware? And it's this awareness that I'm watching this story playing out that allows peace to be present all the time. And so the noise and the story feels like, oh, that's just the character doing its thing, and I am here being peaceful. So it's happening, but I feel the peace more and more and more and more and more while life is lifing, while the fear-based thoughts are coming up, while my emotions are feeling a certain way. While that's happening, I'm also aware that peace is always here. Eckhart Tolle, in the beginning of his book, The Power of Now, said that we are always fine. We're always completely at peace. The only time we're not is when when our attention goes to the noise, which is fine. You can go to the noise, but just know that you can always come back home. You can always come back home to the peace of where you are. What I've also noticed with the awareness that's always present, like that's what enabled the iteration of fear-based thoughts to be brief. That's where I took the bounce. right? It's that I know who I am and I know that I am peace. And this is just temporal. I have such a strong belief that everything I'm experiencing is temporal. Such a strong belief in that. It's so strong within me that the worry I used to have around vibrationally not feeling good is not that strong anymore, because I'm like, well, okay, I'm crying now, but I'm not gonna be crying tomorrow, you know? You know what I mean? It's like, so what? I'm here now. I'm feeling angry now, but I'm not gonna be angry tomorrow, you know, like 2 hours from now I'll be doing something else. You know what I mean? I'm not as afraid of the negative emotions. They're just pointers. It's like, it's just letting you know where you're at. It's a compass. That's all it is. So I'm not as afraid of feeling down or feeling quote unquote negative emotions. They're just dense emotions that are guideposts and saying, oh, here's where you are right now. Feel free to course correct if you want to. So I don't feel as threatened by uh, diversions in my vibration, because I so believe they're temporal. And going through the different challenges of 2025, I saw that so clearly. Like, there'd be one moment where I'm so just drawn into the worry over this or that. And then the next moment, I'm like taking a walk out in nature, feeling good. And I'm like, this is really fascinating that 2 hours ago, I felt so down. And now, 2 hours later, I'm enjoying the sunshine. I'm looking at clouds and I'm feeling good. Like, why do I ever worry about this moment of discouragement? You know what I mean? And we don't, I made a video titled, a YouTube short, just don't keep it. You know that it's temporal and don't keep it. Yeah, I'm feeling unworthy in this moment. Okay, well, this is just a moment that I'm feeling unworthy. So what? Like, I'm not going to keep it. So it's going to be temporal. I've decided that it's temporal. I decided that. I decided. But if you believe that it's here for a long time, then it's here for a long, it goes whatever you want, whatever you believe, right? All right, so that wraps up my first phase. The one other thing that I wanted to share about that, and I'll get into a quick stint into what my relational challenges taught me, and then I'm going to spend most of the other time on what my physical challenges taught me. The other thing that I wanted to say is that sometimes, here's the other shift that I had, right? Sometimes when I saw spiritual teachers having physical challenges or anything like that, I might be wrestling in my mind, like, what's vibrationally off there? Like, that's me in my vibrational prowess. Like, you can vibe this shit out. Just vibe it out. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not there anymore, guys. I am much more compassionate. But there was always this curiosity as to, well, what? Okay, you're always so zen. You're like so enlightened. And like, why is this physical thing playing out? Like, I would imagine that you're most of the time zen. You're meditating 4 hours a day. You're, in this perfectly peaceful place all the time. Like, and of course, we never know what another human being is experiencing vibrationally. We can't see that, right? But my mind used to go to, what are they doing wrong vibrationally that's causing that? Like, where in their life is this being allowed, right? I was just so fixated on fixing the vibe that's causing the thing. And where I'm at today is, when that question comes up, like, why is someone who is so enlightened and so teaches all these things about being so peaceful and so present and so whatever, right? Why are they experiencing that? Now, my answer is, because Earth, right? It's like, we chose Earth. So they cannot be vibrationally perfect. None of us can be. There's this woman that had I'm still remembering, I didn't feed Milo, but there's this woman that had a near-death experience, and she came back. I mean, she came back with so much knowledge because she remembered what it felt like to be out of a physical body, right? She came back with so much knowledge. And she's sharing all this on her YouTube channel. It's just so helpful. Yet she has been living with physical pain for decades, every day, every single day. And I remember sitting with that one day going, asking spirit, like, what's going on here? Like that curious mind, like something's wrong and it has to be fixed, right? She got to fix something vibrationally so she could be perfectly healed, like that part of me, right? And spirit said, she is an instrument showing people that you don't have to be perfect to help other people. And I went, oh. We never know. We just never know why anyone's going through what they're going through. And now when my mind goes, but why? I go, because Earth. Because they signed up for Earth is why. Why you want another answer? They signed up for Earth. That's why, right? That's just Earth. People go through challenges on Earth, and whatever they're going through is not just for them, it's for everyone else. It's just Earth. It's just Earth, And I don't any longer need to find out like what's vibrationally wrong. You know what I mean? The other thing too is because I harvested so much remembering from the challenges that I went through, because I harvested so much, whenever I see someone going through something difficult, instead of my mind going to, well, what are they doing vibrationally off? My brain goes to, wow, they're probably harvesting so many gifts from that. There's so many gifts they're harvesting from that, I bet. Or I hold space for them to do that, And so I am less concerned about what's vibrationally off and more, this is happening for all of us. And I hope they're getting the gifts in the midst of the difficulty, because that's what happened for me. So now that's the assumption that I am having of other people. It's like, it was hard, it was difficult, there were difficult moments, there were dark moments, but every time the dark moment hit and I asked for help, I got a gift, I got another gift, I got another gift. And I don't mean gifts like I got a gift, blah. It's I got insight, I got remembering, I got awareness. And there was just all these gifts along the way. So now when I see someone going through something, it's like, wow, they're probably gaining a lot from that challenge. That's my assumption now, rather than trying to assess what's going on with that or why they are where they are. I'm going to quickly share what my relational challenges taught me, and then I'll go into the physical challenges because there's something I really want to share there. Thank you everyone for joining me for the recording of part 1 of this live event. I do hope that it has been helpful to you in some way. Do remember to always take what resonates, discard what does not. Your inner being, your higher self knows what is most relevant for you at this point in your journey. Listen to your own inner guidance above all else. I will be back in 1 week for the upload of part 2. I'll see you then.